Hello, it's me, and I'm going to pull out this very handsome looking critter over here. This is the 5 by 6 by 7 Puzzle Maestro's second puzzle. Gregor Fenning's design, Gregor Fenning's work, basically. Very handsome looking puzzle here. This is of a category of puzzles called the bricks. And what I'm doing is I'm pulling this out because there have been some refinements in the design a little bit. So I think this is ready for prime time, so to speak. It's a very smooth moving puzzle. It's among Gregor's most brilliant works. In this one, there's very good stability within the puzzle. It moves well. It's fully functional, proportional, pretty much non-old, so very, very good looking puzzle, very stable as well. And of course displays all the characteristics of a brick. So I'm going to go through a walkthrough solve with this, see if this is something that you're thinking you might want to invest in or buy. When approaching a puzzle like this, I would say refer back to the scheme that I use in terms of classification, because that will guide you regarding the solve. No matter how big the puzzle is, whether it's a domino, whether it's a shapeshifter, whether it's a brick, or whether it's a ultimate, or whether it's a floppy, or whether it's an ultimate shapeshifter, the strategies are pretty much going to be very similar, if not the same. So as a brick, you're always going to have two layers that can shapeshift with each other. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you've got a top and a bottom, and then you have these middle layers that can undergo the process of shapeshifting. So with that, this is going to have a lot of characteristics of a domino early on in terms of the solve. So we'll just kind of go through and maybe do some 180-degree solves. So scrambles rather. So you know what kind of parity you might get with this. There's something called the brick parity, which is unique to this brand of puzzle. And as this is going to be kind of a walkthrough solve, just to demonstrate the puzzle, I'm going to show a little bit more of it than is per usual. Again, stability is good, but bear in mind, this is a giant puzzle. As with the 3 by 5 by 7 and most other Shapeways products, be very careful with it. Do not cut corners. Do not try to do much in the way of speed solving. And just bear in mind that there's always going to be some issues with stability. These are all, in many ways, prototyped type puzzles. Some of these end up mass-produced as they refine the techniques a little bit. For the most part, these are collector's items. Collector's items that are fully functional, can be used. But bear in mind some of the limitations. Treat them gently, and they'll last you a while, give you hours of entertainment. And after doing some nice 180-degree scrambles, now we start getting into shape-shifting. With a brick, there's one kind of shape-shifting that we can start off with. And this is the kind of shape-shifting that's still within the realm of the top and the bottom. So here's the top, here's the bottom. Just by doing a 90-degree turn like this, that's where we first start getting our shape-shifting. So we can even start off doing 180-degree turns from the top and the bottom here. And we can go like this. So already just doing a 90-degree turn, we've already shape-shifted it. And then from here, we go ahead and do more shape-shifting down to here, and then maybe we'll turn from the center. As this is a giant puzzle, there's plenty of opportunities to get your shape-shifting fix. But be cautious anyway. So move it over here. A lot of these have very long, slender mechanisms to it. The more you use these puzzles, the more you play with them, the better they get, because you're kind of molding them to your own personal way of using them. So as you can see, very stable, very fun puzzle. Okay, I'm going to continue to scramble this as such. I think I've demonstrated it pretty well. You're going to see it more as we continue to scramble. So, giant brick, abracadabra. Okay, the other thing you're going to learn to live with is the black powder effect, or white powder effect. It's almost impossible to get all the powder out And from time to time, you may find yourself having to re-clean pieces. This one I kind of had to take apart once just to make sure all the black powder is out. But in any case, so the approach here is you see that like all bricks, we have two sides that only scramble with each other, and then the rest four sides that don't. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to get centers back. Once we get our centers in, then we start to solve it domino style to get it back to the cuboid form. That's the general brick strategy. Hoping, thinking, maybe we've got a brick parity, who knows. In any case, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We do have definitive centers. You can see that this is red, and we just so happen to have a cross. Maybe we didn't scramble that so good, but we'll go ahead and put these in as much as possible. This comes over here, perhaps. This will come over here. Now, because this is a 5 by 6 by 7, I'm starting off with the centers of the lowest order, which is going to be the 5 layer. So I'm putting in as this were a 5 layer. 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5. That's all that I'm going to do before things bandage up. So I'm going to go ahead and put the rest in. This is going to work its way over to here. And there's a variety of different algorithms that you can do with this. But what I'll do is I'll bring this here, bring this here. Now I've refined this algorithm a little bit, or the strategy a little bit. Turn this over here. So any way that you can, any way that you want, this is the first step. Get the centers in. In this particular puzzle, you're getting in a 5 by 5, like so. And don't panic. Turn, and feel free if there's stiffness to go ahead and lubricate it. What you don't want to do is you don't want to be in a position where you're forcing anything. That's a good way of getting a piece potentially out of alignment or possibly even damaging a piece. Now these pieces are very stable. Turn and turn, and look at that. Look what that did. Now all I've got to do is turn this to the side, turn, and turn. Okay, I actually haven't lubricated this because it would be a little too smooth, I think. So these are fine over here. Once I've done that, I want to start getting the centers of these guys here, the middle centers. And I'm doing this the way I would do any cuboid. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is 6 down, so I'm going to be getting all the centers along here. Actually, I've got this green one that's already in, so maybe I want to focus on that. Maybe I want to focus on the greens. So here's green over here. I can start lining that up with this. Make sure these guys are lined up. You'll know when it's lined up. It'll move very smooth. Okay, that's okay there. Now we need another green, which is going to be in this layer, which I think will probably be actually this guy over here. So I'm going to move this over twice. This is a two-handed puzzle, so that's okay there. Now, you may notice that I might be doing some damage with the top and the bottom. That's going to be easily replaced as well. So even if you do, that's okay. We have ways of getting that back. Okay, and then we turn this like so. Okay, so these greens are fine. And I'm just going to move this out of the workspace. So this is the area that I'm going to be doing all of my turning. So I'm going to turn this out. Now I don't have to necessarily just do the green side, because truth be told, while I'm doing the domino solve, I don't necessarily have to have all the centers in, because afterwards I'm going to be working on these guys and they might come out. So I'm going to put this to the side too. I'm going to say that this one is in. And this one I want to be able to come over to here. So I'm going to, oh, and I've already got this here as well. So I might as well put this out of the workspace too. Turn, double turn, and turn. So have your both hands ready to work on this, and have a table surface so that you can make sure things are in alignment. There we go. And now we've got a bunch here, and I've got this, which can come over to here. And I'm going to move this one in here as well. So turn, double turn, and bring back. All right. Okay, so these both are in a position to do some good stuff. I want to move this out of the way, which means I'm going to go turn, double turn this here, and bring it back. Turn. Okay. Double turn this over here, and now we move this guy in. Turn and turn. So rather than focusing on centers, I'm really just focusing on 1x3 bars with this guy. So this is okay here. I'm going to move this out. Move this 1x3 bar out of the workspace, which is here. So we've got turn, double turn, and move it back. Okay, so this is in, these are in. I know I've got a 1x3 bar over here, but I might have to sacrifice that for now. Let's just keep getting blues and greens. It's useful for me to get 1x3 bars of the same color because they're going to play a very good role with each other pretty soon. So I'm going to move this in here. Double turn. And move this back. Okay, once I do that, now I can move this one in. So this guy's going to come in. I can already see that there's some alignment issues. Make sure all that's cured. Turn. Turn. We're good over here. So now I have a choice. I can move it in. Let's move it into here so we can move this guy out. So turn. Turn, and this guy comes back. Okay, now what can we do? What can we do over here? So I've got green, green, 2 blues. I think this can find a nice home over here. So let's move this in. Double turn. And move it back out. And now with that said, move this blue one into position. Hard to believe that this is actually making order out of the chaos, but it is. Rest assured. And now this comes down like so. Okay, we've got our 1x3 bar here. Let's move it off to the side somewhere. Exchange it maybe with this. And we're moving right along. Double turn this here. I guess it didn't really matter. But I'd rather retain this as much as I can since it's a completed 1x3 bar. Turn it. Replace it. And turn it back. Okay, let's see what we've got. These are in. We'll continue with the purple and green 1x3 bars. We got a green here. We got a green here. Make sure it's aligned. Double turn, and now this will find a nice home over here. And turn. Okay. Now that we have that, we pretty much have them all. So now I can turn this like so. Move it in. Double turn. I gotta watch where I'm putting my pressures. I don't want to put it on the very ends. Although these pieces are pretty stable. And there we go. So these are filled and these are filled. Now if you want, you can go ahead and solve for it. Let's bring this back first here. Just so that we don't get confused, as I am apt to do. Okay. So yeah, we could do that. We can go like bang, zoom, and pow. Kept having to remember to back it up. Okay, so this is good and this is good. Now to get these in. Well, we've already got these three, 1, 2, 3, and we have, this is just a big old mess over here. So here's what we do. We want to try to conserve all the ones that we've got, so let's work on the inner to the outer, if we can. I'm going to take this, I'm going to move it out and replace it with a blue. Now if I do that, I have to make sure that I put a complementary blue one down over here. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to, it could be either or actually. So what I'll do is I'll cast this out like so, and then replace it with a blue. Double turn and replace it with a blue. Okay, so now I'm free to try to move any of these into position, but to protect this blue, I've got to put another blue over here to act as a reciprocal, so that every time I make the turn, I'll just go blue to blue. So that's what's going to happen here. So this is on the top, this blue will be on the bottom. And this is basically how you protect your pieces. Protect what you just did. I do this with all big cubes, all big solves, and you're going to find that that's how I'm going to do things, mostly. Okay. So now what I want to do is I want to put an orange one here, and that's going to be this one. So this guy is going to come down to here. But what about protecting this and this? Okay, well let's put another blue one here and this blue one here. So I know it seems like it's getting kind of confusing, but there is a method to the madness. Turn, and then turn, and then replace. Now, I could do green and green if I wanted. That's why I wanted to have two colors that were in. Two colors to protect them, two colors to get in. Okay, so I've got a blue here. Now I got to put a blue one over here. So cast this out. Double turn. And cast this one in. Okay, why did I do that? I did that because these two will mesh well with these two. Okay, what about this if I wanted to save this? Well, I've run out of blue, so I'm going to put a green one here, and a green one here. So, you'll see why I'm doing this in a second. This will come over here. This might seem like a lot to do, but it's going to make it easier as I continue to solve. Here and here, and now I put a green one here. So cast this out. Double turn, and then bring it back. Okay, all of this rigmarole, all of this effort was done so that I can make these two complementary by protecting these. So watch what happens. What I'm going to do now is just double turn this, and you'll see upon doing that, this is now in and these guys were not touched. So we're good. So now I can focus on this. Well, this is going to have a complementary one over here. Two whites and a orange, 2 oranges and a white, this one. This has to come down to here, and that's easy for me to do. Because now I can take this out and replace it with this one, which is going to be the other complementary one. So, move this out. Double turn. And move it back. Now remember, what is your workspace and what is not your workspace. Now notice I'm not worrying about this top. As long as I'm slicing in the same direction, I've got a way of dealing with that at the end. But now I've got these 2 complementary layers, and I'm not going to mess these guys up either. So that's why I went through all of that, so I can protect these. So we just go like 1, 2, 1, 2. This is good, and this is good. So now I've got more to add to that. So what do I have left to do? I've got this, which should automatically have a complementary layer over here. So now it's my choice of where I want to put it. For the sake of decreasing confusion, why don't I put it where I have my 2 greens? I have a green here and a green here. I'm going to replace that with this and this. These are complementary layers, and the purples will all be fine. So I'm going to double turn this like so. Bring this up. Move this like this. Like so. Okay. Now I take the next one and move it up to here. So we'll bring this back. Despite the fact that it's shape-shifted, it still turns very reasonably. And again, I've not lubricated this. I'm just kind of sanding itself down, so to speak. I suppose I could lubricate it a little bit and bring this back. Okay, so now we're ready to move this in. These 2 won't be touched. But what about this and this? These guys are going to be a problem. So I'm going to have to move greens into here. So I'm actually going to have to go like, boom, double turn, and now we move the green one in. Splat. Okay. Now the other green one shall go here. This moves out. Double turn, and this moves back. Okay, so we have nice reciprocals on both sides of our workspaces, and all I've got to do is double turn. Make sure it's all lined up, turn, and turn. Boy, nothing like handling this beast. Anyway, so that's it. So all of my 1x3 bars are now done. To get this back, I now have to start lining up centers. So I'm going to go ahead and move all my blues into here. So again, there's no difference between what I'm doing in any giant cube. You can do your 4x4x5 this way, you can do whatever you want. Now I have to get the other color back in here as well, so the greens have to come into here. So move this in. Double turn. And move this back. And same thing here, move it in. Double turn and move back. Okay, what I'm going to do now is to get this in. The strategy that I use with that is I just have to make sure that all these centers are kind of matched up, being out at the same time. Now the question that I also have is what's supposed to be on top, what's supposed to be on bottom? Well, this is blue, so what's supposed to be up here? If this is blue and this is red, it'll be red, white, and blue. So this would have to be white over here. So just to make sure that I'm not confusing myself, why don't I move those in too? So double turn this, or turn this over here. Double turn it like so. And then turn it back. Okay. So is this truly red? Well, we can check ourselves and say, okay, here's a corner over here. Red, white, and blue. So this is red up here, this is white here, this is blue over here. So we're good. This should be red. That's all I really needed to know. So I'm going to turn this over here in case that's easier. And I'm going to put red to red. This will come up to here. And the reason that I'm doing that is because now I have one out here, one out here, one out here. I just have to turn this around like so. And now I can turn it back. And I take my time with this, especially on these long axes, and turn. Okay. So, as you can see, all of my centers are in. The next step is going to be edge placement.